Welcome back to my videos about the Rolls Royce Silver Shadow, the cheapest Rolls Royce in Europe. When I got it, it was non-running, non-driving, and in the previous video I showed you how I got it running and partly driving, just, movable in the garage with just one small tool, a hammer, and with a zero budget. I did not spend any money on anything. So now the next challenge is, there's two challenges. One, get the engine running properly because it wasn't running very well. And two, figure out the situation with the hydraulic leak in the back. The hydraulic leak is not letting me drive the car because the pump is running on empty and it might get damaged. So I'm going to start with a basic check of all the fluids in the engine and just make sure that it's okay to continue experimenting with it and see if I can get it running properly. So let me check the coolant level. Book, it's supposed to be green coolant. I'm guessing it's probably somewhere around here is the right level, and it's definitely lower than that. So I'm gonna get some coolant and fill it in. Let's see, what else do we have here? In terms of fluids, obviously the brake fluid, as I said, one of them is out, the other one is fine. There's a, I think, power steering fluid here. That must be a power steering pump right there. And on top of it is a reservoir. Well, it has fluid in it, and it looks reasonably fresh, although it's a bit dark, so maybe it's not so fresh, actually. Windshield washer fluid. Oh, man, I gotta get that crap out. Clean it up somehow. That hose also looks like it's probably gonna come apart. It's very, very old and crusty. The oil is, we checked it before we started the car when I was buying it with the previous owner, and it was fine. It says engine here. That must mean engine oil. Yeah. Well, we have oil. Maybe too much oil. It looks like it's a bit above the top level, which is not great. I'll be draining and replacing it anyway. All right, looks like we're good here. I'm gonna take out one of the spark plugs just to see what condition it's in. I don't know, I guess this one here is probably gonna be the easiest to pull. Oh, okay. The wire came off really easily. So there's the spark plug right there. Let's see if it'll work that way with a swivel extension. Ah, not enough room. Come on, guys. What were we thinking? Okay, how about a simpler solution? Just a pry bar attached to the socket. Yep, I think that'll do it. Yep, it's moving. Turn the spark plug. Yeah, it's getting easier now. But man, these spark plugs probably haven't been taken out in ages. Come on, how many threads does the spark plug have? There we go. Whew. Oh wow, that looks very oily. Maybe it is time to change these. Now it started dying when I turn on the engine. Check this out. Fuel pump's running, you can hear it clicking. The car ran, I had it running for about 30 seconds maybe or something like that, and then it just died on its own. And now it doesn't want to start again. It's almost as if it's not getting fuel, but it must have fuel. Man, it's kind of a roller coaster ride with this thing. One minute it runs and I think everything's fine, and then the next minute it's just dying and nothing's working. Doesn't want to start again. It starts only when I spray something combustible into the air intake here. And I tapped the float chambers again with a hammer, but it's not any better. Fuel pump sounds like it's running. You can hear it probably. Yeah, but if I spray some of this stuff here, check this out. Stop spraying. Oh, maybe it's got a second life. No, never mind. Nothing. And the fuel pump sounds like it's chugging along, but just not running. Very weird. Did we run out of gas or something? Because, I mean, I did put only a little bit, but it should be enough. I haven't really run the car very much. And if this gauge is correct, it still has some. I'm gonna try putting in some more gas in the tank, but I doubt that that's it. I feel dumb. That was it, it was out of gas. Okay, it's running now. But also the fuel gauge seems to be a little incorrect, but yeah. Oh well. There's an exhaust leak somewhere here. Let's see. It sounds like it's from this pipe. Okay, as long as it's not from the headers, it shouldn't be a big deal to fix. Well, we're not quite out of the woods yet. When I give it gas, when it's trying to go, I'm in reverse now and trying to go up the ramp here, and it just chokes up and is gonna die. If I move it to drive, it moves forward. Again, if I give it gas, it kind of chokes up, so that's not a good sign. It idles fine, or semi-fine, but yeah, it really isn't running well. Yeah, no. That's worse than it was a minute ago when I was driving it inside the garage. I don't know. Maybe when it got warmer, some switch kicked in that messed up its fuel mixture. Yeah, not great. Those are the kinds of issues that I was most afraid of, because this means fuel tuning. Carburetors are a whole different kind of thing than anything that I've worked with until now, and I don't know the first thing about tuning a carburetor. And on top of that, this car has a gazillion additional systems that change the way the carburetor works. For example, it has an automatic choke, which opens up, I don't know, more fuel or something like that when the car is cold, which was manual on most cars with a carburetor, but on this car it's automatic, so maybe if it doesn't work well, it messes things up. It also has all sorts of compensation mechanisms to compensate for, I don't know, temperature and different running conditions. And if one of these switches is not functioning properly, then the whole mixture gets out of whack and is very difficult to tune. And it's gonna be tough to do this myself, and I'm pretty sure there's nobody local to me that would be able to do it. But we'll see, we'll see. Maybe I'll be able to read up on it and do it myself. Well, let's start some actual troubleshooting on the running of this thing. I've tested it a few times and it does seem to stop running or to start bogging down when it has been run for a minute or two. So it might be temperature related, but also I'm noticing it's spitting out, in those cases when that happens, it's spitting out gasoline. Check this out. So, I mean, that could be because I was giving it a little gas to keep it running, and maybe that's just, you know, unburnt fuel, which is what happens when you give it gas on a car with a carburetor. But it could also mean that there's a problem with the ignition system, that it's not igniting that fuel, and therefore it's coming out of the tailpipe. So a regular maintenance thing is just to replace the distributor rotor and cap, possibly wires as well. But I'm going to start by opening them up and seeing what they look like, seeing if they look worn, and that could tell me whether that's a possible culprit. All right, let's see what we've got. This is the distributor cap here, and that is a spider. Maybe lived there for the last few years, or maybe that was its tomb. I don't know. Oh, there's another one right here. Okay. All right, so we undo this clip here. Okay, there's got to be another one here. Yep. All right, let's see what we got. Oh, and of course there's a fuel pipe, a non-flexible fuel pipe right on top. Oh, I guess it is flexible, it's a hose, but still doesn't give me much clearance. Okay, that looks okay actually. Let's see. Yeah, the edge of the what's it called, rotor here has some signs of pitting and looks a little worn, but that doesn't look too bad. And these guys, the contact points here, yeah, now that I look at it, this needs to be replaced. Yep, they look pitted and they look misshaped, which means that's probably due to a lot of wear. So yeah, I'm gonna replace those. There's a bunch of stuff that needs to be replaced inside here, or at least adjusted, but that could be causing some issues. I mean, I don't know why it would be causing it only at warm temperatures, but maybe it has to do with the electronic choke, because when the choke is open, it's running a richer fuel mixture, which means that it's easier for the engine to run even if the ignition is weak. And then afterwards, when the choke is automatically closed, as it should be, the weak ignition actually affects the drivability or the running of the engine. So I need to replace these anyway, so I might as well start my troubleshooting from here. The only issue is any parts that I need to replace, I gotta wait for a few weeks for them to arrive from the UK, because nobody locally sells these parts. There's only a few sites in the UK that sell them, and none of the parts distributors across Europe or maybe even across the world actually have them in stock or can even order them. So anything that you do with these cars, you have to wait. So when the car is cold, this thing is down, and which moves this guy up a little, and that makes this lever here, which is the throttle lever for the carburetor, actually rest at a higher position when it's idling. So because this thing here has notches, and it's basically the bottom of it is a higher seat for this than this position here. Long story short, I think the problem has to do with the automatic choke. Actually, now that I think about it, this whole thing means that the choke is working fine, except that maybe it's moving to its hot engine position before the engine has really warmed up, because it really happens immediately, like after it's been running for less than a minute. And so maybe if I manage to just keep the engine going for a longer period of time, I could let it warm up, and then it might run fine. But the issue is with the hydraulic leak that I have, I don't want to be running the hydraulic pump for that long. Yeah, because I just risk damage to the pump itself, because it's running on empty fluid. So, what to do? Okay, I just took off the rear left wheel to see where that stupid hydraulic leak is coming from. It was basically somewhere here. Yeah, just in front, just behind the wheel. Let's see what we have here. So these are the lines for the ram, but they look dry from the inside above this wall here. It's weird. Where would they be coming from? And this hose, this rubber hose, I don't know what it is, but it might be like a fuel vent kind of hose. I don't think it's part of the hydraulic system. Who knows? All of this here looks wet. I'm gonna try to clean it up and then put some fluid in the car and run it and see where it comes from. Oh, and how did I not mention the inboard brakes? This is a ridiculous setup, but yeah, a bunch of the cars from that era had them. Yeah, the wheel hub is here, the brake disc is here, they're two separate pieces, and the brake is behind the wheel hub. I don't know what the benefits are. Lower weight at the outer edge, I guess, but still, yeah, huge pain to work on. Okay, I think I found the leak. I cleaned it up a little bit, although it's still very dirty, but right here you can see it seeping on this rusted line here. Right there. And it looks like it's not coming from above. It's just that the pipe itself, the metal pipe, is busted. Yeah, I can even feel it with my fingernail. Yep, there it is. There's the leak. Okay, that's going to be annoying because that's a very long pipe to replace. It goes forward here, and then let's see, is it the left? It's the upper one. It's the one that runs on top. Okay, and then goes toward the front of the car. Oh, and there's a junction here. Right there. There's a junction right there. Which means I need to undo it from here, run it all the way to here, which probably means removing the shock and everything, and the spring. And then on the trunk side, those are the two lines. So we're looking at the left one. Goes up here and Yep, and then it goes into the RAM. Well, we're getting somewhere. At least I know what's going on. But I don't like the answer. I don't like what I found out. I was hoping it would be some sort of rubber hose that's easy to replace, or like a junction point that's just untightened or something. But replacing a whole metal pipe with, I mean, one that's this long, that's gonna be annoying. That's gonna be a lot of work. And I don't even know if I can get those lines anyway, anywhere at this point. Might have to look for a used one, or just generic pipe if it's the right type. Not generic, obviously. It'll have to be OEM or whatever, some sort of original or equivalent to original part. But I doubt that it's going to be bent in the proper shape, so I'll probably have to bend it myself, which is annoying. I've done that before with brake lines, but it is annoying. Well, it is what it is. I guess as a temporary measure, I could block it off somehow at the junction point and still drive the car without any rear hydraulics, which is fine. Just to get the car drivable while I'm sourcing the parts and all that stuff. Here's one more reason not to tackle the hydraulics right now. There's a leak from the height control valve as well. Let's see if you guys can see that. Yeah, right here. It's obviously leaking. This thing here is the height control valve. And you can see the condition that it's in. By the way, somebody sprayed the entire car with something that I assume is like a rust-proof kind of spray, but everything is covered in this goo, and so any bolt you want to undo or bracket or line or anything like that, you got to clean up the goo first. And it's annoying. I don't know. I mean, look at this. This is a suspension component. Suspension components should not look like that. They shouldn't be covered in crap. I don't know who did this, but they weren't thinking much. But it's okay. It comes off easily, and I guess it does protect the car from rusting, so that's fine. It's just annoying to work with. So my current task is to figure out how to block off the rear hydraulics that drive the rear height control without disabling the brakes, because the same system also drives the front brakes, or at least some of the calipers, because it's got 2 calipers per brake in the front, and one of them is driven by this hydraulic system and the other one is driven by another hydraulic system that also drives the rear wheels. A very complicated system, but basically the idea is to block off the stuff that goes to the rear height control and still have the part that goes to the brakes work. This, in theory, will eliminate the leaks that are coming from the rear height control system, and everything will just work fine. What I found so far is that there seem to be only 2 lines going from the front of the car to the rear that relate to this hydraulic system. There are 2 more that go on the other side of the car that are for the other hydraulic system. But as far as this one is concerned, that deals with the height control, it seems to be that there's a whole bunch of complicated piping here. Let me show you. This stuff here. This is the left height control valve here at the top that we're seeing. Well, we can't quite see it, but you can see a bunch of piping. But what I found out, and there's a separate solenoid here. Where is it? Yeah. Right there that restricts fast versus slow height control and stuff like that. It's a complicated system, but it seems like all of it is fed by one pipe, and there is one return pipe, and they seem to be these 2. I followed everything. I followed them to a lot of places, but ultimately they seem to be coming up here, and they're coming from the front of the car. Right, they're coming like from a subframe down here, those two pipes here, and then they come on the other side and they run on the other side of the exhaust here, right there, and then they go here next to the transmission. This, by the way, is the robotic arm of the transmission. Long story, I'll tell you some other time. And there seems to be a junction here, which appears to be an easy place to actually block it off. After that, it goes to the pump or to the accumulators or to something. I don't know, and I don't really care. The point is, it all goes through here. One of them is the supply line, the other one is the return line. I don't need to join them together, as far as I know. And in fact, if I do, I would be losing pressure because the high pressure will just directly be flowing to the return line. So all I need to do is just block off those two lines, and it should completely disable the rear system and stop my leaks and keep the front system, which is for the brakes, working fine. So I need to get some caps of the right size, and that is an issue here in Bulgaria because nobody has those in stock. Well, I couldn't find anybody that had the plugs locally because, you know, who has Imperial stuff here in Europe? But I did come up with a genius solution, if I might say so myself. I took out the bleed screws from the rear rams, so they're attached over here, somewhere here. Yep, right there. The other one is still there, but there's these two bleed screws that are plugged into a junction box that looks exactly the same as the one in the front, and so I figured I could use these as plugs. Okay, so here's what my setup looks like. I got the pipes plugged in here and tightened, and I've got these bleed nipples here tied to the box. The other pipes that go back to the car are actually just hanging out. Obviously I will cap them off after the test, just to make sure that no dirt gets inside them, and I will also cap off the bleed screw box at the back where I took the bleed screws out of, to make sure that dirt doesn't get in there as well. So I'm gonna start the engine without any fluid in the system, just to run it and see if anything explodes. And if all is good, I will put in some fluid and see if it holds pressure. Okay, ready for test number one with an empty hydraulic container, just running the pump.
I don't see any leaks.
Okay, the moment of truth. Will it hold pressure? Let's see. There's fluid in the system now. Test number two.
Okay, so far.
I used to get a warning here saying low pressure or something when I turn on the ignition, and now I don't get it. So maybe that's a good sign. Okay, so now with the hydraulic system all sealed up, part two of the whole attempt to get this car drivable is getting the engine running properly, or at least semi-properly so that it's drivable. First thing I'm gonna do is replace the spark plugs, and not so much because that's the first thing that I think could be wrong, but just because it's the first thing that's available in terms of parts for me, because I can get them locally. The rest of the stuff, including fuel filters and ignition components, have been ordered, but they're gonna take some time to come in from England. So yeah, I'm gonna start with the spark plugs, see if that makes any difference. Okay, let's do this. First plug, remove the wire, put in socket, by the way, I've disconnected the battery just in case. Always do that when working with the electrical system on the car, the ignition system rather. Okay. So I just checked the spec. The gap is supposed to be 0.025 inches. And I have a gauge here. I don't know if I can do it one-handed while filming with the other, but let's see if it works. Okay. Yeah, the gap here is definitely larger than what it needs to be. So I need to lower the gap, which is done by just pressing the thing against something. You don't press it against. Yep. Now it's right around where it needs to be. 0.025. Let me start fitting this back in. Always start the thread by hand, obviously, just like any bolt pretty much, but especially important for spark plugs, because if you cross thread this, the heads where the spark plugs are screwing into, you're in big trouble. Okay, I just need to tighten it and we're good to go. One down, 7 more to go. Let's see, okay, this one, cap came out easily. I ended up using a swivel extension and a long extension here. So let's see what comes out. Yeah, also very oily. Here's the third one coming out. This one's pretty clean actually. Looks pretty good. Number 4 now. Now onto the other side. Let's start with the first one. It's turning. All right. Any good? Yeah, this one looks pretty good actually. Other than the rust on the bottom. New one going in. Okay, I tightened it, and now just putting the wire back on. Clicked, so should be good. Huh, so how's the second one looking? Can I slide my hand here? Yes, I can, but I can't really film it. Okay. Okay. This one was a little bit tighter. Okay. How's this one? dirty, but yeah, dirty and oily. Okay, I've done number 3 and 4 as well on this side. I couldn't film while I was doing it because it's really tough to do it, and I couldn't do it one-handed. But you can reach from here. You can put your hand in from here to kind of get leverage or to guide the tools. I think for number 3, I routed the extensions from somewhere here under the tank, and then on this side it was somewhere here, I think, that I routed it. There is a opening right there between that metal pipe and that hose. I think it goes like that, somewhere through here. But yeah, basically just if you're doing it, just find out where you can slide the tool. And for number 4, I ended up using this setup, 2 extensions and a swivel joint. Okay, so this is done. Let's see how the car runs now. Wow, it does sound a lot smoother. It's still shaking a bit, but I can tell you for sure it was running on fewer than 8 cylinders before, because now it's sounding a lot smoother. It's still shaking, which is not normal, but I think it's much better than before. So the spark plugs were indeed a problem with this car, and I'm glad that I started by changing those. And by the way, I noticed something interesting. I noticed that the spark plugs on this side, which I've arranged them as they came out of the engine, spark plugs on this side look like they're in much better shape than the ones here. And the one here specifically looks pretty badly burnt from something. And I think that's the probably the place where the choke stove pipe thing connects, and it makes the engine run, or at least this cylinder run very poorly, because if the stove pipe is not properly connected, which, let's see how it looks. It's this hose here, which is aftermarket. It's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be a metal pipe with heat shielding, and somebody installed a rubber hose. It's these two, actually, both of them connect to down here, and it looks like it's sealed now, but maybe if it was previously opened up and the engine was getting cold from here, or was spewing out very hot exhaust from here, maybe that affected the way the spark plugs were running. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes with the new plugs. I will check them after I get the car running properly. The next step in the troubleshooting is going to be troubleshooting the whole dying issue. Why does it start and run fine and then die all of a sudden? I think I'm going to take the car out so it doesn't smoke up my garage, and then see how long I can keep it running. Maybe if I keep it long enough to actually warm up the engine, it'll be fine. Who knows? That's the experiment that I'm going to do. Okay, so this is my first time taking out the rolls from the garage. Let's see if it's going to climb the ramp, which is the ramp to get out of the garage right there. Release the parking brake, which is done like that. Parking brake light went off. Low fuel. I do know that it's low on fuel, but it should be enough. Okay, we're moving. but I'm getting too close to the left side. Man, this car is huge. Okay, let's move it a little bit this way. Okay. Steering wheel feels like I'm driving a bus. Not that I've ever driven a bus, but somehow I keep going into the left wall. Gotta move. Oop. Let's go. Okay. Need to move right again. Okay, I got it out of the garage, and it seems okay, but it bogs down at partial throttle, and you have to give it a lot of gas to make it run. But at idle, it does sound much smoother than before. So let's see if it'll start up again. Yeah, see? Sounding great. Low coolant, but I know it's not that low. It's okay, unless it's leaked out, I don't know. And the kind of worrisome thing is that there's no temperature gauge, so I wouldn't know if it's overheating. But I'm gonna take the risk for now. I know that the level of the coolant, it's fine. So check this out. Well, now it's fine. Of course, when I try to demonstrate the problem, everything works fine. Let's see. Okay, it's fine now, I guess. Let me put on the seatbelt. I've never actually tried this seatbelt. Oh, maybe it's stuck. Does it work? Oh yeah, okay. It's got unstuck, I guess. It's inertial, which was kind of an innovation for back in the day. All right, let's see if this car can just do a quick run around the corner. Lights on. They sort of work, I think. Okay. Turn signal. I don't know if it works, but see, now partial throttle, and now more throttle, and it works fine. Yeah. See. Partial throttle, it bogs down, and then full throttle fixes it. Okay, we've got brakes, we've got power. Well, not much power, but yeah. Let me turn here. I don't hear any strange noises from the suspension. Seems fine. In fact, it's very smooth on this cobblestone road. Yeah, see? I have to give it more gas to really get it going. Ooh, I'm going 15 miles an hour. I guess the speedometer works. Okay. Idle's okay. There's a huge exhaust leak, obviously. Oh, I shifted into second gear for the first time. Let me go back to the garage now. Let's not overdo it. Okay, second gear. Okay. I think for a first drive, that's pretty good. The partial throttle problem is the major one I've seen, but it's mostly okay. Okay, that car is as maneuverable as a tractor, I guess. I don't know how maneuverable tractors are, but I would imagine not much. Well, I just did my first drive in a Rolls Royce. A partly running Rolls Royce, but still running and driving to some degree. It felt cool, you know. It's it's an old classic car. It's nowhere near as good in terms of practical aspects as a normal modern car, but it feels cool, yeah. And so, yeah, happy about it. There's a fuel smell coming from the trunk, and apparently there are some fuel breather pipes or hoses here on the other side, on the right side, and possibly on this side as well. Okay, what do we have here? Yeah, that's cracked. On the inside here, wow, yeah, it's a very large tear in it. Holy crap! And I've been pouring gas through this thing here. All of the gasoline that was leaking through that crack was ending up here on the floor of the trunk. No wonder it smells like gas. And now that I have a light, let's see what's going on up here with these hoses. It's supposed to be a junction of some sort. Maybe I can turn it from the side. Yeah, okay. Ooh, this one's cracked too. See? Right here on the where it bends, there's a crack. So I should probably replace that as well. Seems easy enough. I just need to look up the specs and order the same type of hose. This hose, by the way, oh yeah, wow, yeah. I was gonna say it feels very. I was gonna say it feels very soft, and look at that. There's a huge gaping crack here, and in many places actually. So I'm definitely replacing this one. There, I fixed it. So this thing is definitely torn, and I'm gonna order a new part, but until it arrives, I've tied it up with an old used glove, and hopefully that'll be enough to keep the vapors out and not smell up the whole trunk compartment. And then I've replaced these hoses here and this one as well, and hopefully nothing will be smelling like gas fumes anymore in the trunk. We'll find out tomorrow. Okay, well, now that the car sort of runs, I'm gonna go for a car wash. And I'll have them clean the exterior and the interior and just kind of get it into a more normal shape, and also see what the paint really looks like. Because right now it's just covered in years of dust that somebody tried to clean off by hand, it seems. So, yeah, look at this here. So, yeah, we'll see what it really looks like. Well, I gotta say, it does look a lot better now after a wash. I mean, you can still see the rust and all that, but it looks pretty nice.
the chrome in the front really shines. It's in good shape. That's very important. The interior is cleaner now. Still not great. Dashboard is still cracked, but the rest of the stuff cleaned up pretty nicely. And yeah, seats are relatively clean at this point. Looks pretty decent. Obviously I need to fix those moldings here that are hanging, but yeah, not bad. Well, now it looks properly majestic with the hubcaps on, all clean. Really looks like a luxury car. I mean, you have to ignore the rust spots and the bad paint and all that, but just as a silhouette and as a overall vision, it looks pretty awesome. Look at that. Chrome everywhere. And all of that luxury can be yours for 4,000 euros. If you find the deal that I found anyway. So there we go. I have a running and driving Rolls Royce that I bought for 4,000 euros. And I spent it was in non-driving condition, and I spent a total budget of about 40 or 50 euros, something like that. And now it runs and drives. It doesn't run very well, but it's drivable. Obviously I still have a bunch of stuff to fix. I have more money to spend on regular maintenance and on fixes, but just the bare minimum to get it to a point where it can actually go by itself from one location to another was done by about 50 euros. And that was about 20 euros for the spark plugs, about 10 for brake fluid, and about 10 or 15 for hoses in the fuel vapor hoses in the trunk. That's it. Actually, I didn't even need the hoses for the car to run, but I wanted to get them replaced. And of course I realized that this car is going to require a lot more money and a lot more time to get it to a properly good condition. My goal is not to make it a museum example here. It's just to get it into a good drivable and reliable condition. If I start replacing everything that hasn't been replaced in a while and everything that needs minor maintenance, the budget is just not going to work out. So I got to make judgment calls on what to replace and what not to replace. And so you guys will see that through the videos. I will be trying to be frugal about things, and I still think that with a reasonable budget I can have a good running and driving car that's still going to be very cool to drive. And it's a Rolls Royce, guys, come on. It's pretty amazing to be able to drive a Rolls Royce with this kind of budget. I guess we'll find out as time goes by what the budget really is going to be, but I think it's going to be reasonable. I think all the people who are saying you don't know what you're getting into, it's it's going to cost you 10 times more than the car is worth on a used market to actually fix it. Yeah, if you start fixing everything and replacing everything, then yeah, that's what's going to happen. But you can be judgmental about what you replace, and I really think it's going to work out. I really think I'm going to be able to have a good drivable car in good condition, not perfect, but good condition, and the budget is not going to be outrageous. Follow my channel and you'll find out. Just like the video, subscribe to the channel, and you'll get updates on how it gets along. And I think it'll be a cool and interesting journey. Take care.